The Supreme Court has lifted restrictions that barred the Trump administration from carrying out immigration-related raids in the Los Angeles area. Criteria such as speaking Spanish or gathering at locations that day laborers often congregate. The justice, who apparently divided 6-3, shocking, along ideological lines, put a hold on federal district judges' order that reined in what critics called roving raids by immigrations and customs enforcement. That judge had found the tactics were likely unconstitutional. They are. Because agents were detaining people without probable cause at car washes, bus stops, and Home Depot parking lots based on stereotypes. Scroll. Can we? Yeah. The high court's majority offered no explanation. See, this is very interesting to me. They offered no explanation for its decision to grant the Trump administration's emergency appeal to block the district judge's order. However, Justice Brett Kavanaugh wrote separately in support of the decision. So that's what we call a concurring opinion. So he obviously sides with the majority, but he had to get his own 2 cents in. So it's called a concurring opinion. Okay. He wrote, it was reasonable to briefly question people who meet multiple, and this is in quotes, common sense criteria for possible illegal presence, including employment in day labor or construction and limited English proficiency. The court's 3 liberal justices dissented. Can I say this? That is so disgusting and so racist. When I lived in San Antonio, and for people who don't know, I lived in San Antonio for 6 years, and I met so many Mexican families that their history went back further in Texas from before we owned Texas. Okay, meaning that we drew a little random line around the people that were part of Mexico and said, okay, now you're here. Okay, so there are a lot of people in this country, believe it or not, that are completely citizens, and even people that are born here that speak Spanish. I know that sounds crazy, but it's true. So yeah, that it's just so unbelievably racist that to him, to Justice Kavanaugh, is if somebody is speaking Spanish or has trouble with English proficiency, then that's a sign. That's a sign for a bigot. That's what that is. That's a sign that you're a bigot. Okay. We to live in a country where the government can seize anyone who looks Latino, speaks Spanish, and appears to work a wage job, Justice Sonia Sotomayor wrote, joined by Justices Elena Kagan and Ketanji Brown Jackson. Rather than stand idly by while our constitutional freedoms are lost, I dissent. And she's correct. This is so, this is brazenly a violation of the 4th Amendment, of the 14th Amendment. But something that we've talked about a lot on the show is that ever since the Patriot Act, we really don't have 4th, 5th, and 6th Amendment anymore. We really don't. Because we learned back after 9/11 that our government can just declare somebody an enemy combatant, and now you have no rights. Now you don't have rights. So long as the authority that is charging you can deem you not worthy of those rights, then it's pointless to even have rights. That's the whole point of rights, is that they can't be taken. So it's very interesting that people are, but so it is unconstitutional to generally paint somebody who speaks Spanish as suspect of being undocumented. It's extremely bigoted and racist, and it is unconstitutional. The Justice Department complained in an emergency appeal last month that the court-ordered limitations amounted to a straitjacket for law enforcement officers carrying out Donald Trump's mass deportation policy. However, immigrant rights and civil liberties advocates accused federal officers of stopping Latinos solely because they were speaking Spanish or present at home improvement store parking lots. You know where I was today? I was at a home improvement store parking lot. And, it's like the idea that if I saw people there that were speaking Spanish, that I would just automatically assume that they don't belong here. It would just never cross my mind. That is just so unbelievably bigoted and just racist. So with nearly half of the population in LA of Hispanic origin, such a broad brush approach is certain to sweep up many U.S. citizens and legal immigrants. Yeah, that's the point. That's the point. Because at the end of the day, this isn't really about illegal immigration, is it? It isn't. It isn't really. Because if it were about illegal immigration, we'd go after the corporations that really facilitate the entire process. This isn't about illegal immigration. Neither is the wall. The wall doesn't do anything. Most of the people that come here that are here illegally or undocumented, they came here legally. They're not climbing over a wall. Okay. So if this were really about illegal immigration, we wouldn't be doing this. This is about racism, white supremacy, and we don't like brown people. And do not tell me it's because they're here illegally that you don't like them. No, that's bullshit. Because I don't see people talking and rounding up anybody that's white that might be here illegally from whatever country they're here from. Why aren't we rounding up? Why aren't we hanging out at the north border and rounding up any Canadians? I mean, not that anybody wants to come here anymore. This is off the wall to me. So Sotomayor said in her dissent that Supreme Court precedent makes clear that immigration officers cannot rely on ethnicity alone to make stops seeking potentially undocumented immigrants, and ethnicity and language are often intertwined. So relying only on those two factors is no different than relying on ethnicity alone. She said adding certain types of businesses to the mix was plainly insufficient to make the stops legal. Sotomayor said that the High Court's ruling posed a threat not just to undocumented foreigners, but to Americans of Hispanic descent. Yes, but they don't care because, again, it isn't about the fact that they're not documented. It's because of the fact that they're Hispanic, right? Let's be real. The government and now the concurrence has all but declared that all Latinos, U.S. citizens or not, who work low-wage jobs are fair game to be seized at any time, taken away from work, and held until they provide proof of their legal status to the agent's satisfaction, she wrote. California Attorney General Rob Bonta called the High Court's action Monday disappointing. He also said the Supreme Court's acceptance of the use race as a factor in immigration enforcement was in tension with the court's decision 2 years ago, ruling out the use of race to promote diversity in college admissions. See, isn't that funny? See, you can use race to indiscriminately grab people off the street. You can use race for that. But you cannot use race to help people get ahead and get into college and get any sort of job benefits, right? So race can be used to arrest people, but not used to promote people. Okay, got it. Just making sure I check. How they prevent the use of race to tackle discrimination, but allow the use of race to potentially discriminate is troubling and it is disturbing, said Bonta, a Democrat. Yes, I think it's quite disturbing. Meanwhile, the Trump administration hailed the ruling, lifting the court-imposed limits ICE faced in LA and several nearby counties. This is a win for the safety of Californians and the rule of law, Department of Homeland Security spokesperson asshole said in a statement. DHS law enforcement will not be slowed down and will continue to arrest and remove the murderers, rapists, and gang members and other illegal criminals. And the people you need to be arresting, the gangs, the rapists, the thugs, the murderers, those are your bosses.